My name is Paul Frederick. I work for the Department of Forests, Parks, and Recreation, and I'm going to be walking you through completing an application for the Vermont Forest Economy Stabilization Grant program. When you go to apply for the grant program, click on the link. It'll bring you to this Vermont Economic Recovery Grant login page. You'll see that there's a place to log in with your username or password. If it's the first time you've come to this page and you're just starting to fill out the application, you're going to want to ignore the username and password for now and come down here to the Forestry Grant. Click on this link. It'll take you to an introductory page that goes over some of the eligibility requirements for the grant, and then ask you at the bottom here if you understand the description and agree to comply. So we're going to click yes. Then it's going to ask you to register. Your Vermont employee ID number is the number that is assigned to you for use in reporting to the Department of Labor on labor issues. If you have one of those numbers, you're welcome to fill that in. It will help you by populating some of these other fields. We'll look up your ID number and fill in the appropriate blanks where there's information. If you do not have an EIN number from Vermont, all you need to do is click on this Add Company, and you're able to add your company name and information into the system. So business legal name here is going to be Jones Veneer. And it's important when you do these naming, when you're writing down the name of your company, that you write exactly what appears on your tax information. If it's Jones Veneer Inc. or Jones Veneer LLC, you want to make sure that you include those extensions on there as well. It's more important when you get to the tax information, but you definitely want to have the correct name for the entity. In this case, we're a C corporation. We're located on Mill Street in somewhere Vermont. And then once that information is filled in, we simply add company. That'll bring you to this screen here. Again, if you have an ID number, you can have filled that in, but it's not required. The required fields here are those with the stars on them. So in this case, the owner is Joe Jones. He is the CEO, and his role is owner. Business email. You want to add, you want to put in your email very carefully to make sure that you get it correct. There will be emails sent to you, and you want to make sure that those go to you by ensuring that your email address is correct. You'll notice down below it's going to assign you a username. Your username is the email you entered plus .vtgrants. So .vtgrants. That's the username that the system's going to recognize when you go to log back into the system. If you do, you want to make sure that you use this username exactly as it appears. Business phone, and we're going to have to add a password. You need a password with at least 10 characters, at least one number and one special character. It will tell you that it's not right if you don't get it the first time. That should work. Come down here to the bottom and click the register. Okay, this username already exists, so we'll have to do something a little different here. That one will work. And as you saw on that screen, if you get something wrong, you get this red pop-up with a message that will tell you what you did wrong. Once you're registered and you're in the system, you're going to come to this dashboard, which will populate with your application number, business name. This information will populate once you complete the application. But you need to go to start with to new application. We're going to look for the Forest Economy Stabilization Grant. So select that, and it will bring us to the applicant information slide. Again, self-populating with Jones Veneer. Jones Veneer does have employees. The NAICS code is the North American Industry Classification System. There's essentially a code number for each industry in the country, as well as Canada. These are typically, I think, 6-digit codes. They will be found typically on your tax returns, on your federal tax return. If you either you can't find it or you don't have one, you can fill in what is the closest match to your business type. And if you hover over some of these little eye icons, you'll see there's additional information about each of those items, kind of a help menu. So in this case, we're going to go, we don't have the number at the top of our head, so we're going to go in here. I know that veneer mills are under 32. They're under manufacturing 32. Click on the subcode and it will give you the number 32 subcodes. Hardwood, veneer, and plywood manufacturing in this case. If for some reason the system doesn't recognize the NAICS code that you put in as a forest and wood products code, it gives you the opportunity to put in an explanation here. In this case, this is a glitch in the system. Hardwood, veneer, and plywood manufacturing should be in the system, but it for some reason isn't. So we're just going to put in a quick note here and say it is a wood products code, and the reviewers will see that information and be able to make a decision on that. Forest products business type, it's a processor. So a veneer mill is a processor. Then you need to complete your tax information. This is all information that's available on a W-9. The name as it appears on the tax return. It's veneer, same business name. Federal tax classification, they're C Corp. No exempt payee code or FATCA code. Again, those are not required to continue the application, but if you have them, you need to fill them in. Street address is, again, is Mill Street in It's located in Caledonia County. Employer ID number. This will be, again, your federal employee ID number or your Social Security number. If you have a federal ID number, you should fill that in. If you're a sole proprietor and you don't have one, you just use your Social Security number. It will accept either one of these, but it does need one or the other. In this case, we're just going to give it a number, select the business type. None of these choices work, so we're going to go with other. Again, go to the bottom of the page, click next. This will bring you to a screen that gives you the opportunity to include additional contact information if you'd like. Basically, the principal or the primary applicant is the person who's going to receive the communications from the system. But if you'd like to provide an alternate person with an email, it will give us the opportunity to have someone else to contact if we can't get hold of you, and if there's a problem. So in this case, we'll just leave it with Joe Jones and go next. Then there's a series of eligibility questions here that you need to answer. The first one, are you primarily engaged in managing, harvesting, trucking, processing, manufacturing, crafting, or distributing forest or wood products? If you say no to one of these questions for eligibility, you're going to receive this red box that says you don't qualify for the grant program. In this case, we made a mistake, so we can go back and click yes. Any portion of your forest or wood products coming from Vermont forests. Are you domiciled in Vermont? Was the business open on before February 1st of 2020? You need to enter your top line revenue. In this case, we're going to just say 600,000. Watch this question, this next question. It's kind of a double negative. My business is not a business or organization, nor a subsidiary, nor owned by a business or organization that reported more than $20 million in total revenue in 2019. You need to answer that one correctly, and it isn't necessarily obvious. Do you certify that the business is open now? Yes. Did we experience more than $5,000 in total revenue loss in the months of March, April, May, June, and July combined in 2020 when compared to your total revenue in the same months of 2019? So you're looking at comparing the months of March, April, May, June, and July, your total revenue for those months versus the total revenue in the 2019 for those months. And you need to have lost at least, or you need to be down at least $5,000 in total revenue in order to qualify for a grant. And that would be to a maximum of $100,000, but so we experienced that loss. You need to fill in the revenue numbers for those months. So in 2019, whoops, a little too much. But in 2020, different story. You can enter 0 if you had no revenue during those months. And you will be asked to provide an income statement or a profit and loss statement to support this information further into the application. Do you have unpaid taxes? Maximum number of employees we had 25. Not in Chapter 7. Again, click Next. Then you need to fill in the benefit information. Basically, what have you received compensation for any of this lost revenue from other entities? So if you had an insurance policy that covered business interruption, you need to report that. Did you take part in the payroll protection program? If you click yes to any of these items, you'll be asked to provide an amount. It won't make you ineligible for grant funding, as long as you're not trying to pay the same bills twice. Essentially, the amount of the loss will be deducted from what was covered by other grant programs. And we didn't receive any idle grants, no other nonprofits, and no other state grants. Again, click Next. At this point, you're going to be asked to upload some files. You need to provide income statements, or what we're looking for here is profit and loss statements broken down by month for 2019 and 2020 to date. So these files have to be uploaded as PDF files. So we'll just click on that. This is the 2020 income statement. (2019) income statements. And again, this is through July is when you want to have these income statements prepared for. The little I button again will give you some more information on how those need to look. And if you need more information on preparing these income statements, there's additional information available on our FAQ page, or frequently asked question page. And you also need to enter your 2019 federal tax return. If you haven't got your 2019 taxes done yet, if you're working under an extension, you can upload the most recent year that you have completed. So in most cases, that would be 2018. The other thing to keep in mind here is we ask for these as separate Vermont and federal income tax returns. If you have one PDF document that includes both your Vermont and your federal income tax return, you need not try to separate them. You just need to upload them twice. So that document would be the same if they incorporated both Vermont and federal tax returns, but do upload it twice. Otherwise, the system won't let you go any further. You need to upload something there, or it won't let you continue. So now we've come to the application review process. You have the ability here to look through your application, make sure you didn't make any mistakes. If you're satisfied with it, if you're not satisfied with it, you can go back and fill in. And I did kind of forget to mention, you want to use this back and the next buttons on the application, and not use the back button on your browser up here. This will take you back to the very beginning, and you'll lose what you had completed. But do look over your application, make sure that it's correct. If you want to print your application, simply put your cursor on the document, right-click it, and click Print, and it will show you a preview of the application, which you can print, and you can choose how you want it printed, where you want it printed. and simply either, if you're saving it as a PDF, either save it or send it to your printer and print it off so that you have your own copy of the application. I'm happy with what I put, so I'm going to click next. That'll take you to the certifications. There's quite a long list of these. I would strongly recommend that you read them carefully before you sign them. But in this case, you need to basically agree to all these conditions in order to submit the application. And then you attest to that application by signing here, and basically this is an electronic signature. It will fill in the date. Whoops. And you submit. It'll take you to this confirmation page and give you your application number. And some information on the status. You can come back onto to look at your application, to look at the dashboard, to see where your application is at by signing back in with your email account, username, which must include .vtgrants, and your password. So that's how you complete the application. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at the email on the website.